Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Eric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is brought to you by Club Car Wash, where Angie and I love to have clean vehicles. And we travel so much with kids' sports that it's nice to have Club Car Washes all over. Whether we're in Kansas City or St. Louis, we've even used them in Illinois and Omaha, Nebraska. And so if you would like to have a clean vehicle year-round, now is the best time to sign up for a membership. It's their best offer of the year for new members only, 50% off for 3 months on any membership. Now, this offer ends February 28th. So you got to get in before then. You can go to clubcarwash.com/Angie. clubcarwash.com/Angie. Click on that and save up to 50% off for 3 months on any new membership to Club Car Wash. Be sure to tell them Eric and Angie were talking about them. I'm Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where one of us is another year older.
Birthday week, level 44. And how do you feel about that, Eric Bremer?
I'm pretty blah, really. I don't really know. You even called me out on it after my birthday last year. Like, you didn't really seem to like anything. I'm like, I really didn't like the day. And it wasn't that I didn't want to. I think it snowed on my birthday. I hate snow. So for those of you that are like, oh, I love the snow, I like it the first time that it snows in a year. I think, oh, that's pretty. And then I'm over it. And so by this point in the year, I'm over the snow. And it is what it is.
On your birthday.
I didn't want to be. It wasn't. I don't know.
I said, I don't even think you liked your gifts.
I was like, I did like my gifts.
You're just blah.
I couldn't snap out of it. So I don't know. It was odd. I turned 44. I wake up normally around 6 a.m. I woke up at 4:44 a.m. on my 44th birthday. So I just got up and emptied the dishwasher and read my devotionals and started my day. And that was that. The day is over. I am looking forward in a couple of weeks. We're going to go on a little trip to celebrate my birthday. And we'll combine it, I guess, with our anniversary trip, since it's going to fall somewhere in the middle there. And so I am looking forward to that. But I think some of that's because it's in the Caribbean and it should be warm. Let's chalk some of this up to seasonal depression. I mean, I'm not the only one today. If you're listening to the podcast, some people are like, yeah, seasonal depression is real.
It's real. I will tell you, I even thought about that this past week when I've been sick. Still not 100%. And I am super exhausted. And I was laying in bed the other day thinking, now, if it was sunny and 70, would I still be laying in bed, or would I be up and out by the pool wallowing in my sorrows?
I say typically you are an outdoor wallower even if you're sick. You're like, I'll just go lay outside even when you're sick.
Right. So I do think that the coldness definitely impacts your upbeatness or your energy levels.
Definitely something. So anyway, but another year older, and we'll keep moving on. Monday night this past week, I took Dane to the gym, and you decided to watch just a real heartwarming flick on Netflix.
Okay, so last week I think we talked about The Shack, watching that movie.
Which was heartwarming.
It was. I am not a TV watcher either, but I think because I have no energy, felt like crap, nothing to do, I'm like recently going to watch TV. So Eric's gone, the twins are here, but busy, and I literally did not feel like doing anything. So I'm like, sat on the couch, we'll see what's on TV. There's no shows that I'm into. Like, there's just nothing. I don't really care to watch TV. Anyway, so I thought I'll see what's on Netflix. turn on Netflix and you know how it shows you what's trending on Netflix. Well, trending is the Gabby Petito murder docuseries. And I remember this happening.
Sure.
And I did think for a second, I shouldn't watch this because I, at a high level, remember what it was about. And we had this weird incident when it happened, when Brian, the killer, was missing. We were out of town and we had this security alert on our cameras that a person was detected in our backyard. I think we were in St. Louis.
We were for like a soccer baseball
or
trip.
something. And I pull up this video and I'm like, what the hell? Because it was a guy walking by our pool, coming up to our house, all like camoed out. It looked like him. And he had like something big on the front of him that he was like carrying. And it was like, oh my God, is that this dude? He's like hiding out in the woods behind our house.
It was very
wild.
creepy.
It was so creepy. After like a ton more further inspection, we think it was like a raccoon hunter, and it was like raccoons hanging off of him because someone else, I posted the video on our Facebook page, and somebody else in the neighborhood had saw where there was a truck with dogs. And so it was like he was maybe going to his truck. I don't know. But anyway, weird like intersection of events. But anyway, so obviously remember the whole story. And for whatever reason, I hit play and I watched all three back to back. And the whole time I'm like, oh my God, this is so eerie with so many similarities to Hallie's story. And I'm watching it, and I'm texting my sister, and I'm texting Hallie's friends. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is
Triggering.
so triggering, so triggering. And I've avoided talking about narcissism because there is a part of me that I talked about it for a while. And then we had the whole trial thing. And then it's kind of like you naturally feel like, okay, like people want you to move on, and people send me stuff about forgiveness and like all those things. And then I watch this show and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why wouldn't I still talk about narcissism? It is still a huge problem, and awareness should always be raised about the topic. Always.
100%.
I think if I look back over Hallie's experience, our experience, her friend's experience, family experience, I think the biggest thing to watch out for is isolation, because domestic abuse, violence, all of that, like traditionally people think that it's physical, and it doesn't ever start that way. I think maybe it does sometimes, right? But I feel like it starts initially with isolation, with pulling people away from their family, from their friends, from their life in a lot of different ways. It could look a lot of different ways for individuals.
I would agree, because if you can get them away from the people that they're closest to, then those people can't tell them, hey, what that person's doing isn't normal. What that person said to you is not okay. What that person is not allowing you to do, that's not normal in a relationship. So they have to isolate you first, so that those people that you love and care about, that are closest to you, that you would listen to, hopefully, can't get in your head and divert their plan of getting you alone so that they can do whatever they want to you whenever they want to do it to you.
It's that, but also like they want you to be reliant on them solely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a huge aspect of that happening initially. I'm watching the series, and Gabby got engaged, and her parents found out about it on social media. We're not a part of it or aware of it. How ironic. Same situation, only we find out about this supposed engagement when she was on life support in the hospital. So pulling you away from your family to even just be able to share those sort of larger life moments is like another example. They moved to Florida, pulled her away from family, right? Hallie moved 45 minutes from her college and her job to try to be more lured in to being further away from the people that matter to her.
That's a sore spot for sure, because that was the dumbest thing ever for her to move, because she had everything going in Columbia with her school,
5 minutes,
her work, everything 5 minutes away. And so when someone is supposed to, two things I just want to say about this. If you can't share with your family that you got engaged, you should probably run. That's really bad. And two, if you're with somebody who just has a job that's just an hourly job, it's not a career for them, it's just an hourly job, and they won't move towards where you are working on your future that would be for your family, that could or could not include them, I guess, that's a big red flag. And so, yeah, that was always a really big sore spot. And like you said, that's luring you away out to the country so you can't be around your family, can't be around your friends. Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, and
pretty weird.
I think if you feel like, promises are being made but not being kept, that's also another red flag. Like, we are all dreamers, right? And I think whenever you're young, everyone naturally, you're making big, big plans. And I think, though, where red flags appear is when some of the very, very basic things that could lead to that big goal aren't even accomplished. And so it's like making promises. Like, I'll give you an example. And it was even mentioned in the sentencing hearing of, like, he had promised he was going to have this horse ranch for Hallie. Yeah, okay. Because that's, that obviously fed into her dream, but he couldn't get underpinning around their home. This happened November 27th. Winter's coming, and you can't protect your home from frozen pipes. Prioritizing your time to look out for your family and make sure the home is a structurally sound going into winter are some very basic things. And I think there were scenarios of that also in this Netflix series where promises were made. There was a lot of jealousy around her hanging with a friend that she had made. She was spending too much time at work or too much time with her friends. I mean, that is like such a huge red flag. Like, you should be able to have relationships outside of your relationship that you're in with your partner. Like, that is one of the most unhealthy things I think you could ever have in a relationship, is it where you cannot have friends, or you don't feel like you can ask for things or be able to go hang out with other friends outside of your relationship. Because what that means is your partner is not content being alone or being able to stand on their own 2 feet, that they need you to be very much dedicated to everything that they're doing. And that's so unhealthy.
And
So
even that they
unhealthy.
just don't have themselves healthy relationships, like outside of the person. You know what I'm saying? That person
Right.
doesn't have any healthy friendships, any healthy coworker relationships, anything
Right.
like that. So, yeah.
Big red flag. Run. If you were in that situation where you don't feel like you have or allowed to have friendships outside of the one with your partner, unhealthy. That's isolation. And ultimately is not good. It does not get better. I think that's
Yeah.
the other
You
thing.
can't fix them. And that's the problem. You think you can, I'll fix them.
Yeah.
They were so kind at first. They were so nice to me in the love bombing that we used to talk about. We would talk about narcissism, that you figure like that's going to come back around again. And it's just
Yeah,
it's
and
not something.
I think the docuseries was also interesting to me because you try to get insights into the why. You know, I think another red flag is if you're the one that's the dreamer and you have big goals and they're riding your coattails on that. Hallie had big dreams and big goals, and that was not the same on the other side. And so there was this mismatch of life. The same scenario for Gabby in this docuseries is she had this big dream of being a YouTuber and traveling and all of that. And I think that when someone's riding your coattails, there's a sense of jealousy that you're the underlying, there's resentment there that happens. And when you're unhealthy as far as your own confidence, then that tends to bleed over into the other person. And it's unhealthy, so unhealthy. Yeah. And I think for Gabby, in a lot of the texts that were shared, there was a lot around, I don't like the way that you treat me, but like she loved him. And that part just makes me want to rage because I saw the same thing happening. It's like, that is not love. Love does not hurt. And hurt is not physical sometimes. It's not necessarily even that. It's verbally hurting someone with your words or your lack of words. Like not even acknowledging their feelings or their emotion. That's hurt.
Good or bad. Yeah.
Good
when
or
they have
bad.
something good happen to them and you can't acknowledge, they've texted you, they want you to engage because they love and they care about you, and you refuse to just engage with that person, that's bad. It's
and
not
I think
good.
Another thing that was stuck out to me too, and is just triggered for sure, is while I had this gut instinct the whole time and was super concerned throughout their relationship, for Gabby, like on the outside looking in, her one close friend had concerns, but I didn't gather from it that the parents had a lot of concerns, because from the outside looking in, their daughter was happy. You see the sweet Facebook posts, the happy pictures, all that. And sometimes, the victims don't even recognize it. And my guess is that Gabby didn't recognize it initially either until it was too late. Like in the 11th hour, she started getting concerned and started reaching out to people. But then it's like too late. She was trapped, right? And so it's triggering for me because a lot of people have seen pictures of Hallie in her relationship. And it's like, oh my God, her Facebook posts are so sweet and they look so happy. And it's like, hello, like do your research on narcissism. That's what it is. There's a picture, a face, a mask that's put on of this kindness and this love and all that stuff. And you don't necessarily know what's happening behind the scenes. The subtle teardowns, right? It's interesting because I was talking to one of Hallie's friends and she was like, don't you remember when that happened? I sent Hallie several screenshots from people that posted like, hey, this is a wake-up call. Like, this is a wake-up call for so many people in relationships. And Hallie had saved it in her Snapchat. It was like September 20th, 2021. And the irony behind all of that is that a little over a year later, she's gone.
Yeah.
She's gone. And, I think most of our listeners are moms. And so I think even just watching that docuseries is enlightening from just an awareness perspective of watching for signs. They don't necessarily reach out. She did call her mom one time, like upset, wanted to talk to her mom when they had gotten pulled over. They got pulled over because someone had reported a domestic dispute. And she's so upset, and the officers pinned her as the aggressor. because people are not educated on signs
Mm-hmm.
and how they will always want to go back to that person. They do. They just always do. They want to go back to the person and not even, they try to separate them. And she didn't want to be separated, even though he had hit her multiple times in that scenario. And they're just not accountable. He was not accountable. I mean, when they interviewed him, when they pulled him over, he was laughing and, acted like it wasn't that big of a deal and made it about her and making excuses for his behavior. And the cops even said, when they were trying to decide what to do about it, they were talking, it was all on their body cams of like, that's why there's not like a textbook of exactly how to handle these situations, because sometimes they do want to be together, but ultimately it gets worse and worse, and then they die. I mean, that's literally on the body cam of a cop. And I don't know how many days passed after that, and then she was gone. But I think it's just, it's been weighing heavy on me from watching that, because it's like, I want people to understand, like, when you're in a situation like this, it's not that suddenly the other person figures it out or you're able to fix them. Like, it's a super high percentage where it gets worse and they get more and more careless about things. And so I think then you end up in this spiral of convincing yourself that it's love. And then they break you down emotionally and build you up to where you think you can't live without them. And it's never love. It's more about control and you as a possession. And they turn around and want to hold you accountable for everything, but take zero accountability for their actions.
That's the one that every time we talk about narcissism always really sticks out in my mind for Hallie's scenario, is just never taking responsibility for anything, even after she died, never taking responsibility when she was trying to take all of the good things that she would do and take credit for them. And then nothing was ever that person's fault. It's one of those things that it's quite the trigger, because it ignites even like an anger inside, right? Of like, the person is not good. And there's so many people like that, which is why it is important to speak out.
I think the underlying issue, and it's not uncommon to appear confident when you don't feel confident on the inside, or, appear like you know more about things than what you really do. But I think the difference is what that is rooted in deep down. And deep down, I think where people become narcissists is because there's this like self-hatred, like they're dealing with something really, really deep. In this scenario with Gabby, his mom was very, very controlling. And that also is disturbing, the whole parent situation with that docuseries. I don't know how they are not held accountable in some aspect, but I'll leave that up to our listeners to watch that and try to make sense of the parent situation. But I think they fundamentally have a lot of internal issues. And so it's just more comforting for them to bring someone more into their web than focus on getting healthy and dealing with their internal struggles. And then, a beautiful girl comes along with a big heart and they get caught up in their victim story and think they can help. And voila, you've got yourself locked into a narcissistic relationship. And there's lots of different types of narcissism. I think, people are probably more familiar with the ones that it's, really physical and they're terrible fights and all of that. But there's definitely an aspect that's more of a covert narcissistic that it's a lot harder to detect because everything's so subtle. They, tend to play the victim, or they'll guilt trip in some aspects. They want to take credit, to your point. They want the kudos, it kind of like this humble brag. They're kind of saying stuff, but kind of not. And they're never at fault. They twist the facts and deny when things happen. And part of this is just sharing for awareness, for people to be aware, because like I know when I was growing up, This was like not even a word I knew. We didn't talk about it, never talked about relationship red flags or anything like that. And they're not going to love you like you love them. I think that's also, like, if you have that feeling where you love this person more than they love you, and it feels like completely off balance, like that should be a trigger in your mind of like, maybe this is not the healthiest relationship. At the end of the day, I think I will forever try to make sense of it. Like, I don't know if my brain will ever stop trying to process it. I don't know. I'm over 2 years in and I still like want to try to understand or make sense of it. And I don't think that I will ever have that. I don't think it will ever stop. And I replay it often. Like this morning, I was actually getting ready and I'm like, wonder what Eric's thinking about right now, getting ready. Because I am like, well, for one, women are more complex than men. But
you
like,
said that, I did not.
If people knew how often I think about what happened and replay things, and like I'm getting ready this morning and that's what I'm replaying, is I'm like thinking about Hallie and still thinking about like, I don't understand how someone 5 feet away could not know that a gun was pointed at their person and pull the trigger. I'll never understand it, other than like right now, the only thing that I can come up with is that person meant nothing to them. And Hallie was merely a possession and he didn't care. That is the only logic I can come up with, is that he didn't care, because how could that have happened?
I completely agree with you. And I just want to give perspective. If someone's watching on YouTube right now and you look over my shoulder at the pictures that are behind me, those pictures are the proximity of how close he was to Hallie. That's how close. So very close. You had to really, really, for people that would go, oh, it was an accident. Wow. When you put it in this perspective of how close those pictures are behind me, that's some accident. Wow. I mean, just wow. I'm with you, Ange. It's incredibly disturbing when you think about it. Like, how could it happen? And that's the actual like distance. It's unnerving in that regard.
Yeah, I think even talking with a lot of moms that are grieving, you think somehow if I could just only make sense of it, that it would be less painful. So I think that's also why our minds constantly are like trying to make sense of it, because you think, well, if only I could understand how this happened, then maybe it will somehow be easier or lighter. And that's the only thing I could come up with, is like, she was a possession and didn't care.
My morning getting ready was not super light, just so you know. I was actually processing my dad dying 17 years ago today. And when I got that phone call and the screams on the other end, and how if I live 9 more years, I will outlive my father, I was processing those things this morning. But yes, most of the time, I probably am in a lighter place than you, just not this morning. How did this series end then? I know you watched it and there was some more sketchiness, if you will, callbacks, triggers.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, like I said. And one of the last things that happened is the person that had killed Gabby had left a backpack, and it had in there a letter that he had written. And one of the things that he had said in there was that he loved and cared about Gabby's family, and that basically there will always be like his family. And I'm just like,
sick.
And it's just like another irony, because that was one of the last things that we heard in the sentencing hearing, with the person responsible for Hallie's death with the back to us was that he, always loved and cared about our family. And it's like, you don't care about our family.
Yes.
You don't care about our family.
And that's not just us saying that as jaded people. There's actually we know from factual things. He was not into us, did not like our family.
Anyway, so if you're looking for something to watch that's a documentary and you're curious about how things like this can unfold, check it out. I know a lot of people have watched it. It was weird because my sister lives in Indiana and she ended up texting me the next morning and said, I wasn't sure if I should text you or not, but I just watched the Gabby Petito docuseries. And she's like, it's really eerie. And I'm like, oh my God, I watched it last night too. And we didn't even know that each other was watching it. So it was really weird. She's like, I almost didn't even say anything to you because of it being like a trigger.
It's a hot deal on Netflix. So if you want to check it out, it is there and not hard to find. So
yeah. So this episode's I feel like it's kind of a downer, but
we're just going with the seasonal depression aspect of it. That's what it is.
Yeah, maybe the next episode will be more cheery.
We'll come up with something that has some happy thoughts. It is supposed to be coming up next Sunday and Monday, like 50 and 60. And that's going to feel amazing. I'm looking forward to that.
It will definitely feel amazing.
I will be outside taking a walk, breathing in some fresh air for sure.
Yeah. Well, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for the fact that Carter really wants me to go with him to a basketball game tonight. I haven't been to a Mizzou game in a hot minute, and I was trying to get out of it tonight because it's late, 8 o'clock. That's past our crawling into bed at 8 o'clock. But he would like me to go, and it's a reminder that I have parented a young adult that still wants to spend time with me. And so,
yeah, that's beautiful.
Grateful for that.
He's here and you can spend time with him.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Grateful that even with the snow, our immediate family was able to make it to have dinner for my birthday last night. And so it was nice to see them and just to hear them say some nice things about dad and brother and whatever I was to each one of them. And so grateful for that. And I am grateful that you are starting to maybe feel better. Now, me too. I feel better for sure, but you have had this worse than I have, and you are the toughest person that I know. So when something knocks you down the way this has knocked you down, that's a big thing. And so I am glad and grateful that you are starting to feel maybe a hint better. How about yourself?
You stole one of mine. One of my gratitudes is that I'm part of the land of the living again, slowly. I don't have all my energy back. I'm going to try to do a workout next and move my body a little bit because, gosh, you get used to working out every day and then don't do it for like 4 or 5 days. It's so quick to feel like you're have zero muscle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to do that next, but I will be dragging. And I am grateful for your trip around the sun, as that's something I think everybody should celebrate, whether you're excited about it or not. It's not promised to everyone. So grateful for another level with you. And then I think the last thing is that although I don't love the snow, it's been good to have the kiddos here and their snow days. Dane's really made his rounds in the neighborhood trying to make money, shoveling driveways. And the kids, I think, just, they enjoyed kind of hanging out with each other, even though they were trapped here.
I think that kid pulled about $300 in 2.5 days.
Yeah,
so
I think so. Yeah, he did good.
Good work for a 14-year-old. All right. Well, thank you for the kind words. So with all of that, hopefully you could take some time and find something that you are grateful for, especially if, like us, you've been struggling with seasonal depression. Find some gratitudes. That always helps. And we are always so glad to have you listening and so grateful for the community that is Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. With that, we hope that you have a wonderful week and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.